All right, welcome back. We are in Canto 16 today of the Inferno. We've been in the seventh circle now for several cantos, starting with the tyrants and robbers, and then the suicides and squanderers, and then the blasphemers. And then in Canto 15, we were with the the sodomites, who were of a different class, a lower class than the aristocrats that we're going to see in this circle. So 15 and 16 cover the sodomites, those who have done violence against nature. Again, sodomy is a cutting across the grain of nature, right? It's the puzzle pieces don't fit; they don't fit, and so this is violence done against God's possessions, violence done against nature. However, the sin itself is not widely discussed, not deeply discussed. There's some hints at it. The sinfully stretched sinews was one of the clearest indications of what sodomy is. Other than that, it's what Virgil mentions in Canto 11 when he identifies this region, this part of circle, the third wheel of the seventh circle, identifies it with Sodom. So we know what the sin is, even if not a great deal of attention is paid to it. Instead, in Canto 15, we had Dante meet with his old mentor, Sir Brunetto Latini, and discuss from a memory of their time together, whether it was just in books or in person, not sure. From that memory, discussing what it means to make man to make himself eternal, and we discussed that last time. In this canto, he's going to meet with some aristocrats, some higher class sodomites, and they're going to denounce the lack of virtue in Florence, which is interesting given that they are here in hell. So, without further ado, Canto 16. Already I was there where the rumbling water that fell down to the next circle sounded like the rumble of a beehive, when the three shades running together broke off from that party that was passing beneath the downpour of a bitter punishment. They were coming toward us, each one crying out, "Hold on! You who from your garment appear to be one of our own depraved city." Dante evidently is wearing a garment that was popular in Florence. So he is known by his attire what city he is from. "Ah, the lesions I saw on their members, recent and old, scorched and burned by the flames. It hurts me still even to remember. At their cries my teacher tarried a while. He turned his face to me and said, 'Now wait, one ought to be courteous toward these souls. And were it not for the fire the nature of this region showers down, I would say that their haste would be more fitting in you.'" So he's saying these are high-class citizens, these are noblemen, we ought to pay them respect. That's what Virgil's saying. They began once again, as we rested, to chant their old woes. When they had joined us, all three of them made of themselves a wheel, as is the habit of champions, oiled and naked, to check their grip and vantage before they dive into the blows and jabs. So they wheeled about, each of their faces looking straight at my own, such that their feet kept moving contrary to their own necks. It's an odd image. They are forming, imagine three guys forming a ring and then dancing around together in that ring, but their faces are always looking at Dante while they are turning around. There's something like a breaking of nature here too. "If the misery of this shifting sand renders disdainful both us and our prayers, as well as our burnt faces," one began, "scorched by the flames, let our fame bend your soul to tell us who you are, whose living feet so confidently tread through all this hell. This one, in whose footsteps you see me plod, though he goes about naked and hairless, was of better degree than you might think. He was the grandson of good Gualdrada. Guido Guerra was his name, and in life he did much with his good sense and his sword. The other, threshing the sand next to me, is Tejaio Aldobrandi, whose voice in the world above should have been valued. And I, that am placed with them on this cross, was Jacopo Rustucucci. Surely my wild wife harms me more than anything. These are well-known Italians, Florentines, from the late 13th century, the 1200s. And so all of Dante's original audience would have known exactly who these guys were. These were aristocrats, they were high-class citizens, they were noblemen, and despite their homosexual tendencies and sins, they did a lot of virtuous things for Florence. And so these are well-regarded men that are indeed worth looking up to from a certain vantage point. Obviously not entirely. That's what Dante is communicating here. If I had been shielded from the fire flakes, I would have cast myself down between them, and the teacher would have permitted it, I believe. But as I would have been burned and cooked, fear overpowered my good will, which made me eager to embrace each one. Then I said, "It was not disdain, but pain, that your condition so fixed within me, and such pain will but slowly fade away, as soon as my lord said these words to me, words which made me understand that people such as you yourselves were drawing near. I am of your city, ever always are your works and your honored names proclaimed and attended to with great affection. I leave the bitter, and head for sweet fruits, that my truthful leader has promised me. But first I must fall down to the center." So he's briefly explaining what he's doing here. They're falling down to the center. He's heading up towards sweeter fruits. That's in Purgatory and Paradiso. But first he's got to go down. First he has to make for the center of hell. "So may your soul long conduct your body," then responded that one, "and so may your reputation ever shine after you. Tell us whether courtesy or valor dwell in our city, as was their habit, or if they are utterly gone from her. Guglielmo Borsiere, grieving with us a short while, who goes with our company, has greatly afflicted us with his words." So Borsiere was a recent death, a recent inhabitant of this circle, and has told these three guys how bad things have gotten in Florence. So the report of Florentine vice has reached the pits of hell and has made its inhabitants disappointed. Dante continues. "A new people with their rapid profits have given birth to hubris and excess in you, Florence, for which you now lament." Thus I cried aloud with uplifted face, and the three who took that as my response looked at each other as one looks at truth. "If it costs you so little," they all said, "to satisfy others at other times, happy are you who can speak your pleasure. Therefore, if you manage these dark places and return to see the beautiful stars once more, when you can say, 'I was down there,' make sure you speak of us to the people." After this they broke apart their circle, and their lean legs seemed like wings to the flight. Not a single "Amen" could have been said any more quickly than their vanishing. With this my master seemed ready to go. I followed after. We had only gone a short distance when the sound of water was so near that to hear each other speak could hardly have happened. As that river that takes its own course from Monteviso eastward to the left of the Apennines, up there called the Aquacetta, before cascading down into its lower bed, and abandoning its name at Forli, rumbles there above San Benedetto de Elpe, falling in one gushing stream where there ought to have been 1,000 more. In this way, pouring down that sheared cliff face, the blood-stained stream resounded in our ears, such that they would have soon been much injured. I wore a cord wrapped tight around my waist, and earlier, with this belt, I had thought to catch that leopard with the spotted pelt. That's an interesting little interjection. We had no idea he was wearing a belt, and we had no idea that he had thought of catching the leopard back in Canto 1, but evidently he did. After I had unwound it from my waist, just as my leader had commanded me, I gave it to him knotted and bundled. Wherefore, turning himself on his right side, keeping some distance away from the edge, he threw it down into that deep abyss.